Hello and welcome back to the Guns and Glory show. I wanted to do a little bit different kind of video today and go over the laws in the state of Michigan that govern where you can carry a gun, whether it's openly or concealed, whether it's a pistol or a long gun. And the reason for that is because I just got fired from a job because the boss thought he knew the law and didn't. And I didn't want to talk back to him because he's my boss, didn't want to be rude. But he spotted my holster on the dashboard. I had my gun concealed. He doesn't even know what my guns look like. He's never seen them. But he said, do you have a gun here? I said, yeah. He said, well, this is a Michigan state licensed facility. You can't have a gun here. I said, yeah, you can. There's nothing in the law that you can't. He's like, no, this is a marijuana facility. We grow marijuana here and you're not allowed to have it. We're governed under LARA, which is the Licensing and Regulatory Authority of Michigan. And I was like thinking, I didn't want to have this big long conversation with this guy right there. I wasn't really prepared for it. I haven't done this in a while. So I just let it go. I'm like, all right. And he's like, you can't carry here. And so that was the end of my job. Well, today I came back, said, to get my check. I said, I did the research, double checked it, and there isn't anything in the law that says I'm not allowed to carry here. And he got dismissive and kind of argumentative and condescending, and he didn't want to listen. I told him, years ago I was a gun rights activist. I studied the laws, and I know about as much about guns as you do about the laws about pot. He was like, yeah, and walked away. If he wanted to talk to me like an adult, I would have been happy to have a conversation with him, but he didn't. Well, I figured I'd make a video about it, since I had done the research. The Second Amendment obviously trumps everything else. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Clear as crystal. I'm not going to read all these laws to you. I'm just going to kind of skim over the important parts. But I'll go over the laws that regulate guns and marijuana possession, stuff like that. The 10th Amendment, this stuff covers the federal side of it. Power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And what that means is that marijuana is not in the Constitution, but guns are. So federal has a little bit of regulation over guns, up to the point where it says shall not be infringed. So that clears that up. But since marijuana is not in the federal law, it's left to the people of the state of Michigan to vote on, which we did through a petition, and that's our right to do. 14th Amendment. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So our Second Amendment has already been enshrined in the Constitution, and this backs it up. It says they can't deny you any right because of other laws. So this protects your right to keep and bear arms, even with the marijuana law in place, for example. Now, we look at the carry laws. There are several. 750-227, MCL 750-227. If you want to look it up, you'll come to the Michigan Legislature's website. So it's concealed weapons carrying penalty. So the person shall not carry blah, 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 concealed on or about his person. Whether it's in a vehicle or not doesn't matter, because they consider vehicle carry to be concealed carry, which you need a license for in Michigan, even though it does violate our privacy laws. They have to have a warrant to search your car unless it's for a gun, and all of a sudden it's different. It's I can't wait for that lawsuit. So a person should not carry concealed about a person a pistol, whether it's in a vehicle or not, without a license to carry the pistol. And a person who exercises the right to keep and bear arms without a permission slip is guilty of a felony. In Michigan, 5 years, $2,500. So We look at our concealed license law, 28.4250, not 4250, shows the premises on which carrying concealed weapon or a stun gun is prohibited. And it goes into the penalties and the exemptions, like, police and probation officers, stuff like that. So, a person who is licensed to carry a gun in the state of Michigan shall not carry a gun on the premises, including the whole property lines, not just inside the building, of a school, unless they're picking up their kid in the parking lot. We have an exemption for that. A daycare center, sports arena, a place that makes more than half of their money from alcohol, a church, an entertainment facility with a seating capacity of more than 2,500 or more, so not every entertainment facility applies. Hospital, college, stun guns introduced to the law right here. Same as a pistol. Premises does not include the parking lot under places identified under subsection 1, which was schools. Doesn't apply to a cop, private investigator, corrections officer, folks like that. Let's see, retired cops, state judges. Penalties. First time you violate this law, it's a misdemeanor, $500. Second time, misdemeanor, or civil infraction, I'm sorry. Second time's a misdemeanor and $1,000. Third time's a felony. So, this is where things get really interesting in Michigan law. 750-234D also covers possession in certain places. Except as provided in subsection 2, a person shall not have a gun. Doesn't say concealed, it says not possess a firearm. So you can carry it openly so far, but so far so good. A bank, churches, courts, theaters, sports arenas, daycare centers, hospitals, and again, the licensing of liquor is controlled by whether they make half or more of their sales of alcohol. Determines whether it's a bar or liquor store, basically, and whether you can carry it there or not. There's nothing here about a dispensary or a growing facility, recreational, medical, or otherwise. I guess there isn't an otherwise. Doesn't apply to a person who owns the place. Doesn't apply to a cop. Doesn't apply to a person licensed by this state or another state. So like me, if you lose your CPL, and I've got it now, but I lost my CPL for a couple of years for something I didn't do. There's a video about my criminal activities. Look it up, it's fascinating. But I got a license from Arizona, which allowed me to carry on these properties openly, because when you go over to the 4250, it lists the places you can't carry concealed. This 234D says you can't possess a firearm on, so you could carry it openly if you had a license from this or another state, so that's what I did. And then the penalties for it. It's a misdemeanor for violating it. Now Michigan has preemption. MCL 123.1102 says a local unit of government shall not impose special taxation on, enact any, or enforce any ordinance or regulation pertaining to or regulating in any other manner the ownership, registration, purchase, sale, transfer, transportation, or possession of pistols or other firearms or BB guns, or ammunition for pistols or other firearms, or components of pistols or other firearms, except as otherwise provided by federal law or a law of this state. In other words, the only people that can make any type of regulation on our guns in the state of Michigan, they have to go through the House, through the Senate, and then have it signed by the governor. That's how you make law in Michigan. Anything else does not apply. It's preempted, including places like Laura. 750-227D. This shows you where you can have it, where and how you can have your guns stored in a motor vehicle. Has to be taken down in a case, carried in the trunk, inaccessible from the interior. BB guns, same thing. Doesn't show anything about marijuana. If you have a license, obviously this doesn't apply to you. You can have the gun on or about your person any way you choose, like on the dashboard. 750-231A, again, we're into some transportation issues and some exemptions. Doesn't apply to a license to hold valid license to carry a pistol concealed, so this doesn't apply to me. Nonetheless, it goes through transportation of the pistol, carrying an antique firearm, transporting a pistol for lawful purpose. I don't see anything here anywhere about weed or whether you can carry it on a facility or not. Shows you how to put it in your unloaded in a case. Again, more about antique firearms, replicas. That's it. I mean, there's nothing here about what my boss was claiming. Marijuana laws, though, let's look at those instead of just looking at Constitution and the gun laws. Section 333 to 7954. Unauthorized activities with marijuana and accessories, limitations, and laws, employer rights, property rights. Okay, not supposed to drive or fly or float with, being high on marijuana. Not supposed to give it to anybody under 21 or sell it or anything. You're not allowed to make wax in your home because you can blow it up, and if you know what you're doing. Can't consume it in public if they don't want you to on their property. Not supposed to grow it within view of anyone else. Let's see. Again, back with, operating under the influence. Paraphernalia goes over your ounce limitations. Doesn't require an employee to permit or accommodate you. They don't want you to smoke there. They don't have to have you there. You can require a drug test if they want. Doesn't show anything at all anywhere about not being able to have a gun on the properties. Here's another marijuana law that we have in Michigan, 333-26424. I'm not a patient, I'm not a caregiver, I'm just a laborer. This doesn't have anything to do with me unless it has something to do with a firearm. So let's have a look. Qualifying patient, it says shoot a card. I don't have a card, I'm not a patient. But even if I did, I'm not subject to arrest or prosecution or penalty in any manner, or denied any right or privilege, including but not limited to civil penalty or disciplinary action by a business or occupational professional licensing board or a bureau for the medical use of marijuana in accordance with this act, provided that I'm within the weight limits and the plant limit, which is 2.5 ounces and 12 plants. So if I've want a CPL, or if I want a driver's license or anything like that, I can. Let's see, a caregiver, same rigmarole with a caregiver basically. They're allowed to provide the 2.5 ounces and 12 plants for their patient. Doesn't show anybody any complaints about being on the property anywhere. Covers seeds, sticks, stalks, and wax and concentrates, edibles, that kind of thing. You have to be in possession of your card. You can't be above the legal limits. Again, no location issues here. The doctor shall not be subject to arrest for giving you the license. Protects the doctors too. Again, more protection from arrest. No location indicated here. Paraphernalia is covered. Should not be denied anything if you're administering the plants, the medication to a patient. If you're a caregiver and you sell the weed to somebody that doesn't, isn't supposed to get it, well, now you've got a felony. This is a problem. But yeah, this is the end of the law. And there's nothing in here at all about whether I can have a gun there or not. And since I'm not breaking the law in any of these other cases, I can still use the Self-Defense Act if I needed it. If I'm not engaged in the commission of a crime at the time I use deadly force, I can if with no duty to retreat if either of the following applies. If I honestly believe that the force is necessary to prevent death or bodily harm, or to myself or someone else, or if I believe that the use of deadly force is necessary to prevent, sexual assault of myself or someone else. As long as I'm not doing another crime while I'm using this force, I'm allowed to do that as long as it's not excessive. So, that's that. There isn't anything in the laws about not being able to carry, but nevertheless, people don't understand that, and I wanted to help to clear that up. So if you've been with me that long, really appreciate it. I don't know what's next for right now. I've got a couple of things and a couple irons in the fire, so we'll see what happens. Take it easy.